a little bit to myself because they're plowing our roads. Yay! Let that be my feel-good story for today. Plowing us out finally. Woohoo! I figured it'd melt first, but I was wrong. So I have the music up just a little bit loud because they're literally right outside my window plowing right now. You may even see them back and forth in that window as we get started. Yep, there they go. Oh, so hello, Spicy Ghost. Hello, J&V, in and out today. Hello, Bear. Hi, Spot Soul, in and out today. And of course, always first, Chubby Hubby. Good to see everybody this morning. Or, well, chat. Welcome. Come grab a chair. Hang out in the living room today, huh? Oh. It's making me laugh. It's just tickling me. I'm so thrilled. It's been kind of rough getting around. Oh, the comments are doing that weird thing that they were doing to Rufo one day on my screen. It's a good thing I have you guys over here. Like, for real sick, or like I have too many rocks, I have to call in fun. Remember that day I wanted to call in fun from work? I'm not sick, I'm just far too fun. Do you remember that day? Oh, and Andrew popping in. Hi there, Andrew. Is everything backwards on my screen? No, it's right. Had a moment where I was watching the other screen and checking out the chat because I can't do the chat on the phone today, and it looked really backwards for a second. Oh no, for real? That's a bummer, Boot. Boot's got the COVIDs. I had like, well, and I assume that it was influenza because the whole town was getting tested and everybody had influenza. In fact, I asked some of my friends who have kids who took their kids in to get tested, and it was like influenza. I was like, how long does this last? She's like, oh, about day 4, day 5, you start feeling better. I was like, yeah, right on cue. So I'm glad I didn't go get tested because it wasn't COVID that time. Grateful for the 30 minutes notice or I would be asleep. So we have lots of rocks to talk about today, but I want to talk about some products really quick, just first. And full disclosure, these products do not sponsor me. I wondered for half a second, and I apologize to you guys for being so selfish, but I wondered for half a second, should I tell everybody what rock grit I use? Because it's pretty awesome rock tumbling grit, and then everybody's rocks would be awesome as mine. And then I was like, no, of course, I want everybody to have the same awesome experience with their rock tumbler as I do. So I am going to share some products really quick. For wire wrapping, I wire wrap my tools, or I coat my tools in Plasti Dip. And I've showed you guys this stuff before, excuse me. I've showed you guys this stuff before. But I just wanted to, it's obviously I'm due, right? Like this last Plasti Dip I went through with this piece was, the dip was getting pretty dry and I was just kind of molding it on there rather than dipping it. And this one we used to clean the fireplace flue. There's, you guys see that little knob sticking out? We have to push it back and forth in there to clean the flue in the fireplace, and it gets hot and it gets hard to hold on to. And this was what was available, was my wire wrapping pliers. That, well, I don't do tedious work with them, obviously, but it's time to redo these. So that Plasti Dip does not last forever. However, I feel like it lasts long enough to make it worth it. And it protects my jewelry, my wires and things from getting marred up. So I just wanted to throw that out there. If you're getting into wire wrapping or have been into wire wrapping and you're not using Plasti Dip on some of your tools, you may consider that. The next product that I really, really highly suggest is the grit that I get from rocktumbler.com. It is some of the best grit. And I'm going to tell you exactly what I got and show you what I got so that you're not wondering what's. I did the $29.99 standard rock tumbler grit, 1 pound of coarse, 1 pound of medium, 1 pound of fine, and 1/2 pound of aluminum oxide polish. So it comes packaged looking like this. You know, here's your polish, your fine, your medium, and your coarse. Double bagged and double boxed. It comes in this box inside of a bigger box with some packaging peanuts. But I highly suggest you try their grit if you haven't. You would think that all grit is created equally, and it's not. It's not. I've had the pleasure of trying some not very nice grits. So, like I say, I want everybody to enjoy their rock tumbler and the results that they get out of the work that they put into it. So I wanted to throw a shout out to rocktumbler.com. I know it couldn't be any more simple than that, right? Like, they've got the greatest grit around. Am I missing anything? That box is making a funny noise down there. Oh, and Brian's stopping in. Hi there, Brian. Is that where it came from? I didn't honestly even notice. Did it come from Minnesota Lapidary? Or they just have some good stuff? I haven't bought grit since I still need the barrels, says J&V. So we've joked a little bit about making a wind-propelled rock tumbler. And we've got everything set up to motor run a great big PVC pipe, and I still haven't tried it, and I don't know how it'll work. I needed to order some grit for that, for sure. I had enough to run my smaller barrels, and the update on the smaller barrels, by the way, is that I had my youngest kid take them up there, put them on the tumbler, and he forgot to turn it on, so now we're a day behind. He put them on the tumbler, but he forgot to push the button and turn it on. They have a ton of distributors. Okay, that's good to know, Brian. Yeah, this rocktumbler.com, they were fast, they were easy to use. They just tumbling stuff, just kind of a basic little menu, shopping menu there. It was really easy to navigate, find what I needed, and get out of there. So Chubby Hubby makes a good point. He says you'd need a heavy flywheel to reduce the speed. I need to scoot that over because I'm missing just the corner of the chat. So we could reduce the speed from the changes from the wind. And gear it so that you could somewhat control the speed. Very good input there, Chubby Hubby. All right, I'm gonna turn the music down just a smidge now that the plow is getting a little farther away from the house. I'm also going to grab my glasses and my contacts just in case I can't take it. My eye is bugging me just a little bit, so I hope that's not bothering you guys to look at. Sorry if it is. Flywheels rule, says Chubby Hubby. From Kingsley. Interesting, J&V. I haven't tried Kingsley, or at least not that I know of. I've tried some grits that like friends have given me, and I've tried like, you know, the free grits that come with the Nat Geo tumbler, and I've tried a couple other grits, and I'm gonna give my shout out here where my shout out is due. a friend of mine up here, I've actually even went on a couple of rock hounds with him. He goes by the nickname White Rock Dave. He loves white rocks and he thinks they're the prettiest. Excuse me. And he was tumbling quite a bit, is still, I think, tumbling quite a bit. So I asked him, I was like, man, that he gave me just a, sample of the grits that he used, and it just was night and day difference to anything else that I had tried. And I was like, I need to get a hold of Dave and find out where he got that grit. So and Wyo's here. Hi, Wyo. So I have a couple of things that I want to do today. So I think we'll kind of get into it. Agree. Jeff just said in the chat, if Michigan Rocks Rob gets his from Kingsley, it must be decent. Absolutely agree. He knows what he's doing. He's been doing it a lot longer than me. And like I say, not a sponsor. I just want to share what I really like and what really works for me. So if somebody out there, if you're planning to try Kingsley, by all means, try Kingsley. Tell us how it works. But like I say, I wanted everybody to have an enjoyable experience. And I know that some grits, when you're done polishing and you put, 5 weeks into polishing a tumbler, a barrel full of rocks, and they come out just kind of, that's so disappointing. So, I'm sure, like I say, Kingsley's probably great, especially if Michigan Rocks is suggesting, because he does some fantastic tumbling. And I don't. I want my rocks to come out as shiny as possible, but I don't always give them the best start. And I don't always get the best finish because of that. Sometimes I choose rocks that are kind of fractured or have some grit grabbing pits or, things like that. So sometimes I bend and break the rules, and it shows in the end. Excuse me. I am still getting over that influenza that I had. I mean, I feel better, but I've still got a little rattle in my chest. I did this last go around especially because I was super sick, and it was like all I could do. I had my kid help me, and it was like all I could do to change grits. Like that was like the only thing I did that day. So instead of scrubbing each one down with the toothbrush and making sure that they were clean before, by the way, I'm answering a question from, where did it go? From Brian. Instead of washing them all and then I just put a drop of dish soap and a little bit of borax in there, and then went and ran them for, another few hours, and then rinsed them again and called it good. We'll see if I like that result. That's the first time I've ever done that. So we'll see if I like that result or not. But I am trying it for the first time this round. Yes, he is the man, Spot, when it comes to tumbling especially. Never even unboxed it. Why not? It's a decent tumbler. The Tumblebee that my kids just got me with the double barrel Tumblebee is actually quieter than the Nat Geo unit was, but I actually like the Nat Geo unit because it's got a day counter on it. And so you can go and check and be like, pardon me, oh, there's 3 days left. Oh, because I'll forget sometimes and be like, was it Friday or Thursday last week when I started it? So I do like the day counter on the Nat Geo tumbler. All right, well, fair enough. And Wyo says she does tumble with soap and water between, and she's noticed a difference. Fair enough. The crowd is saying that the Nat Geo runs a little fast for their liking. I've heard that before, and by the way, welcome, Sean. I've heard that Dawn dish soap or Ivory dish soap shavings work great. All right, let's get into some of the rocks. I was hoping to get to do a tumbler a barrel change, but like I said, my kid left it off of the thing for a day, so we're a day behind. So we'll just wait. Excuse me, one more time. Sorry. All right, let me tell you the story behind this rock while I figure out how we're gonna turn around and look at it. So this was a potential meteorite find from a community member here. And it's a good looking meteor wrong. So the story behind this rock is really good old time friend of mine. This guy used to be a border patrolman, and it's actually his son and I and his family and mine that started this tradition to go to Bynum every year to go shedhorn hunting. And that's why I stopped by I'm gonna pop this up really quick. The Trex Gem and Agate shop, or Agate and Gem shop in Bynum, Montana. We always stop over there and support him a little bit on our way through. So I've known this guy since I was in high school. He's a good old boy. And they just built a house, a brand new house, right next to their, old place. Okay, great. But they were running the magnet over the, parking and around the building to pick up all of the nails and things from construction. I have a swollen eye too. I gotta read the comments here in a second. Anyway, so this stuck to the magnet when she was out picking up debris with the magnet, and it sticks. I'm gonna grab I apologize. This is the most mediocre magnet. It's a magnet on a magnet. Okay, and it's not what I usually use, but it's what I had handy. So here's our potential suspect. And it's super sticky. So let me check this out right quick. Why does Wyo have a swollen eye? I like that suggestion, Spot, to run a post-it note system to keep your days counted. Cut it open, Angie says. Okay, he has filed a window for us, so I haven't showed you that side yet, but I want to be able to show you what it looks like. She doesn't say why exactly. Yeah, we are sorry to hear that, aren't we? Hematite. Actually, I did a streak test, and it streaked like a steel gray kind of color. And John, welcome. Okay, so that was one of the first things that I actually did when he brought this to my work and said, what do you think about this, was a streak test, because I was almost certain that it would streak a red stained rusty color like a piece of hematite, right? And so I was like, yeah, check this out. I was going to show him how cool I was, how I knew what this was, and I streaked it on the bottom of a coffee cup and was like, still need further testing. Sorry. So that rock kind of made a fool out of me for just a second. It's okay though. I like that. I'm okay with being wrong. it's oftentimes the first step in being right, right? Oh, well, Andrew, I have a whole bowl full of rocks that stick to a magnet. And they actually are kind of cool. I even have a piece that I polished into a cab. Maybe I'll bring that out too here in just a minute. It's actually a really beautiful piece of jewelry for being kind of a turd rock. So, okay, let's do the thing. Let's get you guys turned around and we'll look at the meteor wrong and we'll run a streak test and everything so you guys can see what we're doing, and I'll show you why visually I don't believe it is a meteorite. All right, here we go. Try to do the thing and don't push any buttons. I'm gonna give everything a slight little angle here and try to do a zoomy zoom. So, outside, you know, kind of convincing, kind of. Some of the cracks we see up here don't exactly look like contraction cracks that we see in meteorites. However, I mean, to the novice eye, it looks like it's got a beautiful fusion crust on it, and it's super heavy. And like we experimented just a minute ago, it's highly magnetically attracted. He took this just to he's like, oh, I just took it to a bench grinder. You got to imagine this old cowboy here, old border patrolman guy. He's a bib wearing guy too, by the way. He likes his bib overalls. So he took this entire side to the bench grinder. You can almost kind of see the marks there where he's done that. And let's see if I have a pointy thing handy. Boy, that's not what you would typically consider. Let's see, how about this pen? Oh, so you can almost see where this little fleck right here kind of looks like a metallic bit of iron. And maybe, I mean, there's maybe some up here that looks kind of shiny. I think that's really more an angle thing. There's some kind of weird little round spot down there, but it's definitely not a chondrule. So what we don't see is this is not an iron meteorite. It's also not a palisite. It's also, like I say, not a hematite. Let's see if I can find a cup really quick. I'll be right back. Oh my goodness, a pristine cup bottom. We're about to take care of that. Try to hold still. Let's see if we can find a little cleaner spot. How about over here? That color, maybe I should cover that so I don't. That color is almost actually more what you would expect out of an actual meteorite. So I was like, oh, never mind. My streak test proven that this was hematite. Yeah, a clean cup bottom. It almost doesn't exist in this house. More and more as I get better at visually identifying meteorites and meteor wrongs, I get more and more clean cut bottoms. But about 90% of the coffee cut bottoms in this house are rust colored red. Impact test. I love that, Boot. I love that. So, what is it? Just an ironstone? By the way, I want to put... I mean, it just doesn't... I'm going to put it in the sunshine. Ooh, it's hard to... I mean, you see maybe some iron in there, but it just isn't quite shiny enough. It's definitely not a meteorite. Boy, putting it in the sun really does stuff for it too, doesn't it? Metallic rock. Oh, look who's jumping in. Look who's jumping in. Welcome, Topher and Sue. Or Topher, or... And Sue. I actually have... Let's see if I can get it open and not chuck it across the house here. A rock that Topher and Sue just sent that should demonstrate meteorite metal really well for us. Of course, this isn't an iron. I'm going to put it in the sunshine first so you guys can see how sparkly, how absolutely shiny like a chrome bumper meteorite metal is versus that. So I'm going to get back in here so we're not all blinded by the light. Topher and Sue just sent this. So it's an unclassified Northwest African chondrite. Possible type H. I concur. That's got a significant amount of metal in it. And what happens too when we have high metal meteorites, we tend to lose a lot of that chondral appearance. We don't see as many well-defined chondrals usually in H pieces as we do in L pieces. And remembering that the H means high metal and the L means low metal. So the neat thing about H's is that they have all of this metal in them, and it's so pretty, isn't it? And the neat things about L's is that they have all those beautiful chondrals in them. It's sometimes you'll get a piece that has a lot of both. This is not necessarily one of those pieces. I don't see a whole lot of chondrals, visible chondrals. If you looked at this under magnification, you'd see definitely some chondrals in there, and they're probably going to be quite squished and smashed and... But yeah, I just happen to have this handy. So versus, you know... Oh, and then by the way, also handy, I have a piece that I have found that is quite similar to his. I have actually a lot of pieces that look like this, by the way, but this is the one that I could find. I was really hoping to find my magnetite piece that I found the same day that I found this piece, but I've misplaced it with a lot of the other rocks that I have. So when we look at this side of this rock, we see all of these like volcanic pores and bubbles, and that is usually not in meteorites. So that's a pretty good tell right there that this is a meteor wrong. Although on the outside, slightly convincing. Again, I've ran a streak test and all kinds of stuff on this, and this is also magnetically attracted. Ooh, highly, actually. So I find a lot of rocks, earth rocks, iron rocks, whatever they are, out here, but they're not meteorites. So Really cool of them. Like he said, he said, my friend who found this when they were cleaning up the nails around their brand new house, he said, I've never seen a rock like that before. And I mean, all I can think is that it's got to be a meteorite. And when I suggested that it may possibly be, you know, an ironstone, his good buddy standing next to him kind of nodded. There is quite a bit of mining and, you know, heavy metals and heavy metals. There's so much heavy metal out in the hills. That's not a terribly far-fetched thing. So there is still, of course, some learning to be done about some of these rocks that I'm finding out here, but we're learning as we go. But I can tell you with confidence that this is not a meteorite, which puts that to bed for my friend. He was like, I just need to know if it's a meteorite or not, and it's clearly not. So let me go back and read some chats really quick because they are, like I say, not showing up on my phone today. Topher can only stay for a couple of minutes because he's in the middle of his workday. We're so glad he stopped in, though. Did I say H? I did, didn't I? Type H, H class, yeah. Let's see. Sue says, yep, Betty Jane is Sue. Aw, and there's Angie saying thank you. And Cynthia stopped in. Oh, she did. Hi, Cynthia. And while we're kind of learning together, well, that's interesting. And I try to keep my lessons when we cross the worlds of meteorite, meteorong, and rock hounding. I try to keep what I say really understandable and not get too deep into things. Here's another piece that Topher and Sue sent that I am super excited to show to you guys. I haven't even taken it out of here and held it yet. So we're doing that together for the first time. And I'm going to have to learn some more about this too. I'm sure you guys saw the thumbnail, but here it is. It's an impact rock from the, I'm not sure how you pronounce that, crater in, I'm not sure how you pronounce that, Kazakhstan. Excuse me real quick. So the first thing that I noticed, there's the sunshine on it, is how absolutely bubbly, and by the way, texturally, it kind of feels like glass. And I think even visually, it's got some kind of glassy kind of things happening. I can see sort of some reflections in here that kind of show how glassy this is. Really cool cut piece so we can see the whole face of the inside of this stone. And again, I just got this. So I am going to have to do some learning about this crater. I'm going to drop it into this little thing really quick so you guys can look at it without my shaking hands. Oh, I have to read this. Topher just put into the comments for us all, a meteorite impact melted the silicates into liquid glass, expanding bubbles, and then froze in time and space as they came back down to the ground. And they're known as glass bombs. I was saying that on Kyle's live the other night when he was showing some of those tektites. There was that one, and I was like, that really demonstrates the, you know, molten motion of that piece as it was flying through the air. It's pretty wild, isn't it? Let's see if I push that open, if we can get that side for a second. That is so cool. So cool. Yeah, right? Right, John? Me as well. Me as well. Let me get that label back in there too so you guys can read more, because again, there is a little bit of information about the age and the diameter and everything of this. Hey, I'm asking way too much of myself here. Which way is focus? That way? It's a little fuzzy still, but it's okay. We can see the rock really good. Yeah, thank you, Topher and Sue, for sharing that with all of us today. Us rock nerds, we like things like this. Yeah, and just, I mean, I know you guys are familiar, but just to kind of, you know, sometimes you just need to hear it in another sentence in another way, just to kind of reiterate that it's a meteor when it's flying through the air. It's a meteorite when it hits the ground. So it's a meteor shower when you see all those meteors flying through the sky at night. It's a meteorite if one actually touches the ground, which is, you know, fairly less common than to just see a meteor. This is an earth material that has been altered by a meteorite impact, which include things like impact melt rocks, shatter cones, tektites. So yeah, I mean, I know it's basic, right? But, and Betty, Jane, or Sue just added into the comments that it's a meteoroid when it's still out in space. Correct, yeah. So just some of those simple terms, and then, you know, knowing some of those simple terms and a couple of, like, you know, generic definitions for such terms can kind of help you to understand a little better what we're looking at. So yeah, if it's a really large body out in space, it's an asteroid. Yeah. Yeah, and Topher just commented, he said, thanks so much for sharing your passion with people and creating such a friendly community. We all agree here that this is one of the best communities on the interwebs. Everyone here is super awesome. So I've seen some other platforms, and I don't care to participate in some of the negativity that can happen in some of those other platforms. So I totally love this route and this community that, yeah, has, I don't know if I've created it or if it's kind of self-created, but I'm glad to be a part of it. Chubby hubby. And if it's an asteroid headed straight for us, it's time to call Bruce Willis. Don't look up. Thanks, guys. Ooh, yeah, the micrometeorites. John just said check your gutters and your roofs for micrometeorites. That's a whole nother ballpark there, John. There are people who specialize in that, and it's not me. You need, I think, some microscope equipment to maybe be determining whether you have a micrometeorites or, you know, roof rocks. But There is such a thing. There is such a thing. Tons and tons, actually, of tiny little microscopic little dust-sized particles fall to Earth every day. And we don't even notice it. And then there are some that we do notice, like this. This impact would have been, wow, wow. This may have even wrecked a significant amount of land of real estate for a lot of different species for quite a while. This may have been quite a devastating impact. Anyway, that's an exceptional example of an impact rock, an earth material that has been altered by a meteorite impact. That is exceptionally cool. Some of them are a little less subtle than this. Some that I've seen, oh man, it is just so light because it is so glassy and bubbly. Like I say, some of the other impact material I've seen is a little more subtle, and that's probably because the impact that created that material may have been just not as brutal and significant as this particular piece was, this particular impact was. I'm not an expert, I'm just guessing that that's what would create differences in and then, of course, the material that the meteorite hits as well. This was probably a sandy environment. And so, you know, we make glass today out of sand. Whereas if it was a more like quartzy sort of material, you're getting more like shocked quartz and things like that. Yeah, get back to work, Topher. Here's another piece that Topher and Sue sent. Sue surprises me sometimes. She has some really interesting earth rocks from time to time. And by the way, I may have Topher on as just a quick, and I mean quick, 15 minutes, 30 minutes guest here really quick. He's got some really exciting things going on as he's getting ready to go to Tucson. I don't know if we'll catch him before or if we'll catch him after, or maybe even both. But just a heads up there to look for, there may be just a pop-up live, a really, really short pop-up live where Topher is our guest. So we haven't worked the details out for that just yet. And if I hadn't had already started today and I knew he was going to pop in, I'd have sent him the link to join. But yeah, just keep your eyes peeled for that. I don't know how much notice I'll be able to give you guys, or if we'll just, like I say, kind of pop up and do it and then be done real quick because he's so busy right now. So busy that if that doesn't happen, I don't want to pressure him with any more on his plate right now. It's just something that we have kind of discussed doing in the near future. So just a heads up there that it may be out of my usual schedule, and it may be kind of an exciting thing to keep your eyes out for. Isn't that pretty, Andrew? It has got a lot going on, doesn't it? Even on the very bottom of this, by the way, like there's a like quartz crystal or something in there that's even kind of pretty. But yeah, as far as just the little specimen piece goes, is that not rocking your world? Planet, and I will pop in, Topher says. Cool. What are you talking about, Chubby Hubby? The granules might be considered enough to screen out? Question mark at John. At John, what did John say? Oh, yeah, we're still talking about the micros over here. Ah, really, Sue? Okay. Sue says we need to check this with our UV. We will do that because we like to have a good UV show around here. That delights us. Let's turn out the lights. And get out the old UV Beast. Not a sponsor. Let's see if we can get it even darker in here. I don't know. Does it phosphorus? I'm betting you. Let me have a close look, ladies and gents. I'll be right back. Huh. I don't see a whole lot there, Sue. I wonder if I need to invest in a long wave, short wave. Shide by shide. Oh, yeah, we do. We see a little. I thought it was dust on there, but I don't think some of that is. What is that? That blue. Do you guys see it? There it is. There it isn't. There it is. There it isn't. What is that? Okay. Topher, I know that my show is just gripping today, but I will. Sparkles on my cupcakes, says Angie. Oh. Oh. And I don't think that we've properly identified this rock yet either. So it's malachite and azurite. Am I right, guys? I wonder what the little white crystals are. Anybody know? Oh yeah, throw that shade spot so we can get a better UV look. Oh, thanks, Soul. Thanks for popping in and out. I know. I want to do that, Jeff. Get the short wave and the mid wave. I'm sure that's what it is. This is an Amera rock, huh? Okay. Steven sent that. That's cool. So then, since I got you on, Sue, the small bag of meteor-wrong-looking rocks, is that Topher's stuff from when he went to the fall to meteorite hunt? Let me go grab them really quick. Sue, are these Topher's rocks?
Snow blue.
Hi, baby.
Hello. Yep. I snowballed it. I was able to hop the hedge with that big snow pile.
Yeah, hop the hedge. Hi, guys.
No,
How's it going, Jazz?
Electric company or something.
How's it going?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I
Yeah?
wanted to roundhouse kick my math teacher this morning.
Jeez. That's nice. I'm on a YouTube live. Yeah.
Just
She was making me mad.
I'm sorry.
Record right now. For what? For saying
Why would white
roundhouse kick.
what would the white crystals be? Calcite? Yeah, I don't know. And is that what's popping under the UV? Blue? Is those little white crystals? I forgot the name of what it. Okay, so I'm still waiting for an answer from Sue. So Topher went meteorite hunting and got skunked. There were 2 bags. Yes. Okay. Ooh. And he actually said, and we'll talk more, I think, about this when we visit with Topher, but he had all of the right coordinates, all the right information, he was in the right place, and he just didn't find. Yeah, cool. I'm excited to label those then and keep those. So these are from the strewn field. These rocks are. He had all of the right stuff, and he still went. He looked in the right place and just didn't find a meteorite. And that's totally to be expected. If there's anything that when I cross rock hounding and meteorite collecting on this channel, if there's anything that I do try to drive home, it's that there are many meteorite hunters and very few meteorite finders. So
That's why it's called hunting.
that's why it's called hunting, says Jazz. Yeah, exactly.
That's why they call it fishing and not catching.
That's why they call it fishing and not catching, says the other kid. Yes, I saw the Romania rocks, which actually I'm really delighted about, but let's go get those too. I didn't know how much I was going to visit about this or not visit about this as I went along, so these are actually kind of neat.
Did it? Yeah.
Can I get a vacuum peanut on your
The
live?
world's most
Shh. What? One at a time.
the world's most unhealthy diet and somehow still survive basketball.
Yeah, that's normal when you're a teenager.
Feeding me a packing peanut.
Whoops. Let's throw it on. Yeah, you guys quit eating the packing peanuts. Okay, let's see. Let's put them in like order here a little bit. Okay. Yeah. Prioritize and organize. Thank you, Jazz, for your input there.
Autism. Whoa.
So these rocks are from, like Sue just said, from Romania.
From 100 yards away.
Dude, I'm just saying. The one video I posted, it literally.
And this is almost kind of got a glassy appearance. Of course, we see some of those like bubbles that we don't want to see if we're looking for meteorites.
The one funny-ish one that I had.
But it's actually kind of a cool little rock. It's almost kind of got a blue hue to it.
How do you spell it?
I don't know what it is.
It's Curtis Bertier.
It's not because Gabe.
But it looks more like a silicate of some kind than it does any kind of meteorite. Right? That's the story I keep repeating over here, Sue, is that between my friend and I, we have 20 years combined looking for a meteorite, and we have one to show between the two of us. So, I mean, you increase your chances, like I say, when you go to a known strewn field. And some of these little labels are, is it meteorite? Question mark. And then, you know, where from in Romania. And that looks like a little kind of piece of sandstone. Little, maybe even chalk rock. Kind of drew on me a little bit. But it could, I guess, if, you know, maybe look like an achondrite. And pop this one out. Martian meteorite, question mark? Almost looks like a miniature version of what do they call that? That chicken foot? You guys know what I'm talking about? I can't think of what it is. The chicken foot. Is it basalt? Is it? Oh gosh, what is it? But packing peanuts are so tasty, says Andrew.
Yes.
Andrew, I could send you one. Nabbed. Official Boeing.
Yeah.
Jobs 101. I need one of these in my life. I told you, if you put two together, you get a Boeing.
And Sue's talking about how, as a meteorite company, they get bombarded with, is this a meteorite? Is this a meteorite? Is this a meteorite? And some of the funniest ones, like the most hilarious ones to me is like, please, will you have a look? I have, 13 grams of the sun. It's like, you do not have a piece of the sun.
Are you sure about that?
Are you sure about that?
I'm sure about that. Sure.
Oh, is it meteorite? Almost has a kind of obsidian look to it, or maybe a hematite. Maybe we should scratch it real quick. Let's go with the former. Let's go with maybe an obsidian of some sort. I thought that's where sunstones came from. Chubby hubby, you are so funny sometimes. You crack me up. Yeah, trust me, you don't even want the tiniest fraction of the sun in your possession, because it probably outweighs every other thing on earth, and would crush you to death. Crushed by the sun.
The sun is a deadly laser.
Now we've turned today's show into a musical.
I stole that little snippet from a song called from a YouTube video, the history of the world, I guess.
Oh? Yes, you did, I suppose. Didn't you?
It's my favorite part, because, like, can we go on land now?
No.
What?
The sun is a laser.
There, you guys just got a history lesson from the high schoolers.
Oh, I failed history. I barely passed that.
And so, to this fellow in Romania, or Sheila, or whoever she is in Romania, to their credit, this is very heavy. And, let's see.
You can't even pick it up now.
Let's get back to the old magnet. Oops, let's put it in focus, too. Sorry about that if it went right into your ear when I blew.
Jeez.
Okay, very magnetically attracted. Very, actually, I had to really pry that off of there. I mean, maybe it could be a palisade, you know, with some kind of an inclusion right there. A clay meteorite, Angie says. These are meteor wrongs, Angie. But like I say, I have an achondrite that looks like a piece of petrified wood. So there are some very rare exceptions. And of course, everybody always hopes that they've found one of those very rare exceptions, and it's just so not likely. I actually have a piece that I'd like to show you guys a side-by-side of this as well, a piece that I found here. So we can see that this person has put a window into this piece, and it's a lot shinier than the window that was put into this other piece, you know, by far. But it's even less shiny than the window that I put into this piece.
Wait for the day she leaves her alive now. That's a 10-inch. Then you can do 8-inch one.
This one, if you use your imagination, even has a flightly shape. But I'll believe that this was maybe a nut or a bolt or a piece of something that had fallen off in the, maybe a tractor bit or something that's fallen off out in the field and that I found.
How big was it, though?
It's not a meteorite. And I believe that this would be the same kind of thing. Maybe this is a more concentrated, like, local iron material that they're finding there. But my guess would be maybe a slag of some kind or
I would never guess.
a byproduct of tool that laid out and rusted, you know, maybe some of those kinds of things.
You could see the grain.
Along with this one. Meteorite the whole way today. The only meteorite we've looked at today. Let's look at it again, too, while we...
Yikes.
I've got one more Romanian rock, but again, I think it's important to do some side-by-sides, even though these aren't the same type, but let's look at that metal inside that meteorite, see how it's distributed. Way cool. I like me a good H. You guys want to see the, by the way, magnetic attraction from an H? Ooh, jazz. Did you like that?
Attraction, that's what my mind goes through.
Because you're a teenage boy. Magnetically attracted. Did you just think of it again?
But I can't whistle to save my life, so.
I took his whistling.
Oh, Chubby Hubby's getting songs stuck in our head, by the way. You guys want to go back to school with a song stuck in your head? Thanks to my... Here comes the sun.
Here comes the sun. Do 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 do.
Oh, you're fucking deaf.
Did the dog just let herself... Hey, come on in, man.
Oh, Dylan, not Austin.
I thought the dog just
Boy,
let
we got a
herself out. I
house
was
full
like,
of
damn.
guys today. Sorry about the noise. It's short-lived. They go back to school after they've eaten their lunch. This is also a rock from Romania.
Dorn was just cruising out. I was like, "God."
And I can see how this person would assume that this would look similar to, you know, maybe a lunar breccia. Of course, it's a terrestrial breccia, but it's actually kind of cool.
I really ain't feeling cup noodle. I don't know about you.
I'm just feeling.
Yeah, or, you know, I mean, that's possible, Angie, but I don't really think that there's a fusion crust on that stone. It's just rusty. So, not entirely sure that either one of these pieces is space junk, like debris. There's a way to test that kind of stuff and find out, but I'm not suspicious that that's what that is in the least. I think it's probably man-made terrestrial junk.
Dylan here is my literal clock. Like every time bro pulls up, I'm like, all right, let's go. And then like he'll open the door as I'm about to leave. Thank you, clock, for telling me it's
This
not
cost
coming.
50 or 40?
Oh, goodness. Ken's a slave to his cat, as many of the other chatters here are.
Mine was really.
I guess there was a big, so I got that so stuck in your head. Way to go, Chubby Hubby. Jasper's in the kitchen singing that song still.
I can get one stuck in your head.
Yeah, you want to try?
Somebody.
No, that's not that. Nah. If I get pegged for for copyright. I don't want it to be that dumb song.
Just mention who the author is. Isn't that
I don't know about
I'm not
that.
gonna trust you with copyright. You got a video taken down.
And Al is here.
Gabe.
Al got a
Raven or
puppy.
corn dog.
No, that's not
Shh. Al got a puppy? That's pretty cool, Al. Well, it's cool and, you know, like, welcome to puppy training. Ha ha ha. It's worth it, though, in the end when you've got a companion.
Hey, wait, the corn dog.
Yeah, anyway, beautiful piece. That's a beautiful rock. He's got it coated in something. The other side's not. If you wetted it, you would see the detail as well, but in the meantime we see the rock saw. We'll go ahead and wet it.
Now, who can tell me what that up there is for? Good boy. Good-ish. Probably used to be a bad boy because he knows that one.
And here's the little meteor rong that goes in that bag. Sometimes they could be too smart for their own good.
Like, we haven't done anything for since then.
Al,
And we'll
just
feel like
just so you know, super smart puppies can sometimes be too smart for their own good. Anyway, those are neat, I think. I'm not super familiar with the geology and things like that of Romania, but I had a unique opportunity there to examine some rocks from Romania. Some, you know, potential meteor wrongs, but all in all, just some, you know, rocks from Romania. So I think that's pretty cool.
You know what I'm very close to doing?
What else did I say we were gonna do today? We looked at the mic rock, we looked at Topher stuff. I said, and much more. We could definitely do some other things. What if?
You know what she was doing?
What if we pull you out of there? All right. Let me make sure I'm not missing too much over here.
No, go
Yep, we'll see you, Andrew. Thanks for stopping in. Hopefully you and your daughter have an awesome rest of your afternoon together. And Global's popping in. Yeah, thanks. Thanks. Yeah, like I say, rocks from Romania. That's kind of fun, isn't it? In fact, what we should do is check those out with the UV. Actually, I don't know if that's the dude's stuff he put. Is it? Not entirely sure. We'll look. We'll look. If there's anything cool there, I'll tell you guys about it. One of the things that I want to get done today is to get ready to load the tumbler, the next load of rocks into the tumbler.
I'm probably a bit biased here. I haven't noticed Curtis manipulating much, but I know Bonnie's been making him do the speech and drama things. So he's not like. I just noticed he'll like try to do something else. And I'll be like, I don't really want to do this.
I tumbled a couple of the. I know Angie's asking Shelby Hubby about some of his tumbling stuff, but I've tumbled some of the Botswana and some of the Malawi agates that Jeff has sent me, and I have some more. Pardon me. I have some more right over here that I actually want to go through today and decide which ones to put in. I want to cut some more of those too because they're. Yep.
Bye, Allison.
Bye, guys. Have a good rest of your day. Yep. Love you, boys. Some of them I really want to cut still, and they're appropriate for cutting. You know, the trouble with the old high tech, the old water saw is you can't leave the blade on it and come back, or the blade will rust. So it takes a small bit of setup and takedown every time I use it. So I've got a whole like pile of stuff that I want to do on it. Oh, and Angie's finishing her last leg of polishing. Me too, Angie. I'm so excited. Bye, sweetie. Have a good rest of your day. Awesome, Angie. Stay tuned. Angie's doing some cool stuff with her beautiful rocks. And Al's working on an Australian opal. And Global's always putting videos out with their awesome opal stuff. Holy moly. You know, I'm kind of not an opal girl, and I guess that's probably because it's not really available here. It's my mom's favorite stone. So Alex from Locally Lost and Global Prospecting teamed up and made an opal necklace, and I won it in one of their giveaways, and my mom wears it all the time. She loves it. She loves it. And she gets a lot of compliments on it. So I'm not as big. I love opal. It's beautiful, but it intimidates me just a little bit to go from, you know, Montana agates and petwood and things that I'm used to working on to something as expensive, precious, and very different to work on as opal. It intimidates me just a little bit. It's not something that at this very moment in time I want to dive right into. I appreciate what others do with opal for the time being. In fact, I have all of that fire agate that I want to get to someday, but again, that's an entirely different beast. Some of that is contour polishing and things, and I haven't dabbled in that as much as I would like to. Maybe someday I will. So there's so many different things that, and so many different stones that, oh, I'm sure that I can do it. I'm sure I can. It's just, it's not on the front burner like something that I'm actively seeking to try. I actually have a piece of turquoise too that my buddy Tex gave me, and I don't really know what I'm going to do with it. It may need stabilized, and that's something that I've also never done, is stabilize a stone. And so I just kind of put that pot on pause, and it's a part of my permanent collection for now, is my one and only turquoise sample given to me by my buddy. Yeah, Angie. I may find something that I can practice some contour carving on and work up to. I did try that one agate piece, and I just have the final polish left on it. Let me show you. Look at all the fire. Oh, it's so pretty. So stinking pretty. Woo! And I've got one final polish left to do on that. It's got just a couple of tiny little scuffs and scratches and things that I'd like to get out of there, but kind of a little heart-shaped piece. Kind of a pretty little guy, and even the back is kind of rough, which, again, I don't mind that, but even the back is kind of pretty. You know, did I worry about getting right in there? No, I didn't. If I was running this with a Dremel, I would have, but I did this on my flat lap, so I'm like, yeah, you know, for me and for my first try, I'm delighted. That's going to be a beautiful piece. So yeah, thanks for stopping in, Al. Oh, and Karen's here. She heard the mighty call. Oh, the powerful fire agate spoke to her. She felt a disturbance in the force and said, I need to tune in. Yeah. That hater. Oh, you know, I like the kind of ugly ducklings. I like, you know, the black and white stones or even just the browns sometimes. Yeah, you know, I like some of the ugly ducklings, but I'll get all enamored every once in a while by something super fiery or, you know, like, yeah, opal. Oh my goodness, some of opal is just so mesmerizing. You know, there again, who wire wraps opal? No one. Excuse me, opals deserve a little better jeweler than me. So again, just not a stone that I'm diving into currently. All right, so I have a ton of glass that I actually want to cut today. I love it, love it, love it. I don't want to make you guys look at the back of me the whole time I cut. And it probably won't make you hang out with me the whole time I cut either, but I put... Let me not jump ahead. Let me tell the story. I put a couple of glass pieces, just kind of rough glass pieces into the tumbler. And I pulled it out at like stage 2, right? And it's beautiful. It looks like frosted glass. Thank you, Sue. You rock. I say let me get them, and now I don't know where they are exactly, so never mind that. Sorry. I've showed them a couple of times, though. They came out kind of like frosted. I'm still smiling about Sue's super chat there. Thank you, Sue. They're beautiful, and Mom's been doing some stuff with some of my rocks, and she wants some of the little glass pieces. She wants to make little birds out of them, and they would make beautiful little birds. So I was so excited that, and it's Sue's first super chat. Way to go, Sue. I was so excited that these glass pieces turned out so pretty out of the tumbler that I actually want to try a whole barrel full of it, because I think it would go actually a lot quicker than rocks. I think they could probably stand like a day or 2 of coarse grit, or maybe a day or 2 of medium grit, and maybe just a few days of fine grit, and maybe, you know, another few days of polish. Might do, I mean, I want to experiment with it. And I've got tons of glass. Tons. I know Jeff was like, oh, you shouldn't have sent me any UV glass. I know, like, you really like, I do really like it. I don't like working with it because it's kind of icky. So I've got a bunch of glass that I've checked, and none of this is UV glass. They're just really old glass. Some of it's blue, some of it's green. I've got some like peachy pink color, kind of a little more like orange pink, just some whites and other colors that, you know, nothing too exciting here, but I've checked and none of this is UV. Some like this kind of a dirty piece, but I like the little bumpy texture. We'll see if some of these textures will follow through with a polish, or if we just lose all of that. We'll see. It's an experiment. We're gonna learn if we can tumble glass and how to do that. Thank you, Sue. So Karen just said, what am I doing with it? So here's some pieces that are already kind of cabochon size, and I'm gonna run this whole mix. I want to fill a whole tumbler barrel full of glass pieces to do arts and crafts with, to wire wrap, to, like I say, Mom wants to make little birds out of some of the pieces and things with her arts and crafts projects. So we're gonna see. I may cut some uranium glass to mix into this, but I'm going to do that very last so that I'm not, you know, just playing around in uranium glass dust the entire afternoon. Oh, and then, by the way, I have a ton of these like really old glass bottle tops, and I like to cut them off and then go take them to my cabbing machine and smooth them out, and they make really cool sphere holders, like, you know, recycled sphere holders, and they're really old glass too, so that's, I think, really kind of a cool thing. Like this, how cool is that gonna be when I get that top cleaned off as an old, like a sphere holder? There's a little crack in it there, but I think we can get through everything cut and polished without that crack getting any worse. I almost kind of like it. It adds some character. It's smooth. It's not gonna, you know, it's not gonna cut you. It's a smooth crack, but how cool is that for a sphere holder? Here's a little guy that I did cut. I didn't cut him straight though. I'd like to have another whack at him, and I could fix that on the polish too, but that's a considerable amount of glass to be moving. Here's an old jar top. I don't know if I'll get that one done or not. I almost doubt that that will survive, but you know, so when I'm out picking up rocks and I find some of these old glass bottle dumps and things, here's a, did I pull it out? No, it's UV, but might as well pick up some of these old bottle tops, cut the rough off, smooth them off, and they make really cool little sphere holders. So I didn't ever finish my tangent earlier about Topher going to the strewn field and not finding a meteorite. I want to quote his exact words. He said, "I'm not coming home empty-handed. I'm picking up a few meteorongs." And that's one of the things that's so addicting about rock hounding, about getting out there and rock hounding, is that you don't have to come home empty-handed ever. Sure, every time I go out, I hope I find a meteorite. I hope I find a dino bone. I hope I find an agate. I hope I find a fossil. Hope I find something so cool that I just get so excited. The treasure hunt, you know. But you don't ever really have to settle for coming home empty-handed. You usually find something that's interesting: an agate, a petwood, a meteorite, a magnetically attracted rock, you know, something. So that's, I think, one of my favorite things about being a rock hound, is that you don't have to come home empty-handed ever. Or maybe you do, but you saw the coolest sunset while you were out there, or you saw a horny toad, or a, you know, like, you just, a weird orange and black beetle. You just never know. I love being a rock hound for the reasons of that thrill of the hunt and the treasure. I'm gonna catch up. Let's see really quick. Yeah, thanks, Karen. And the glass that I pull out of these are at least 100 years old. So it's antique glass. And sometimes the patina on it really shows that, and it's really, really pretty. I like the patina sometimes. I know Bear got a couple of glass pieces from me, and the patina on some of the green is like pearly, lustery. It's really pretty. And of course, you know, you can't fake that. It's something that happens. Napkin rings can be fancy too, says Boot. You'll gouge your eyes out. This is a good little song I got in the background. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but it's making me move. Very cool. Very cool ideas. Yeah, I was surprised. I didn't know. I don't, you know, I don't know anybody locally who's out there cutting and shaping glass with rock cutting blades and a cabbing machine. I mean, I assumed that it would work. I've seen, you know, blades sold for cutting glass. Even I didn't buy that blade. I bought the biggest blade I could, the thickest kerf, so that I could cut pet wood and agates and things like that. So I didn't know. I have cut and polished many glass pieces. I really enjoy actually working with the glass. So, but like I say, just recently ran a piece through the tumbler and it turned out really cool. So that's my plan for today, is to get through, maybe we'll see how much of this it takes. I've got, like I say, just a few pieces that I think are already an appropriate size and shape. They should go in and smooth out just fine. Here's one, just got a little texture. You never know how that'll turn out coming out of the tumbler. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But yeah, like I say, I think these are pieces that should come out. And again, will we lose that texture or will we maintain that texture? All kinds of questions that I don't have answers to until I try it. And so I'm gonna, like I say, I'm gonna cut a lot of, got this whole container here. I'm gonna cut it down to some more workable size pieces, and also go through all of that. I have a bunch of stuff set aside to put into the other barrel. I want to run rocks in the other barrel. But yeah, some of Jeff's stuff is destined for this load, and I've been setting things aside as I've been going along, you know, everyday cleaning and things like, ooh, I really like, because over all these years, I haven't tumbled in the winter time. It's always been too cold and too noisy and all of that stuff. So there are times when I'm going through everything that I found through the summer and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember when I found that rock, I thought it'd be really interesting to tumble it. And it gets shuffled and shuffled and shuffled and mixed, and, you know, until I finally get to tumbling again. And so now that like I say, the Tumblebee, so quiet. I'm running it in my attic right now, and I can hear it when I stand right underneath of it, or when things get really quiet at night. But right now with the heaters running all of the time and things, I just don't hear it hardly at all. And so when the summertime comes and I can put it out in the garage and not worry about it, it will really be uninvasive. So I plan on tumbling a lot in the near future. So, but I've been kind of squirreling away little rocks here and I really wanted to, you know, 4 years ago I found this rock and I thought it'd be cool to tumble. So there's a lot of stuff to go in there. So that's my plan for today. I didn't get a video out this last week and I apologize for that. Hopefully I'll make up for it. I also, while I have the small saw set up, am really hoping that I can bring myself to cut a meteorite or two for you guys. So, and maybe that'll be an upcoming video soon while I have the saw set up. So if I do that though, I want to do that first so that I don't have to clean all of the glass slurry out of my saw to not cross-contaminate with the glass and the meteorite. So as much as I'd like to just jump right up and start cutting glass right now and showing you guys and stuff, like I say, before I set the saw up and start cutting for today, I am going to go have a look at the meteorites and see if there's something on there that, in the case, I've bought, no joke, I'm going to say 10 meteorites. And I'm like, that one, I'm buying that one to cut. And I get it here and I'm like, oh, it's too pretty. It's so pretty just the way it is that I can't possibly cut it. Soul loves to hear that. She's like, save all the rocks from the saw. But no, you know, meteorites, it's part of the fascination. I mean, some of the fascination is seeing the outside of them, especially when you're training your eye to be a meteorite hunter. The outside of rocks is really important, but sometimes the really cool stuff is on the inside. So, and especially when it comes to a meteorite or wrong, you know, potential, you gotta cut a window into it. Otherwise, I sometimes can't tell you. If you can't cut that little piece off of there, and know that if it's a real meteorite and it's really significant, a significant find, and you want to get it classified, you're going to have to cut a sample off. If you cannot cope with that, then don't go find a meteorite, because we're going to break your heart when you do find it. And we're like, let's window it and cut it and window it and cut it. Into real meteorites? Is that what you're asking me there, Angie? Into a real meteorite? Let's see if I have any actually with because I have polished a few. Again, I get them here and I'm like, they're too pretty. But let me see what's in the case over here. And I've cut a few too, Angie. Whoa. There we go. Actually, while I was in there too, I think I might have made a decision on something that I would like to cut. And yes, thank you, Sue, for jumping in there with a couple of answers really quick. The meteorites that I'm most likely to find when out looking, and also most willing to work with on my saw, are the stony meteorites. So I've polished a tiny little window into a piece of Dranino one time, but I don't think that's really worth sharing. But these are a couple of meteorites that I have cut. And they are, you know, not fancy. This one doesn't have a lot of like metal blebs, but you can see that there's a lot of like melt metal in that. I cut and polished that piece, so of course it wasn't that shiny when I cut it. Here's another meteorite. Here's the outside of it. Here's a polished inside. I polished that piece as well. And here's one that I cut on. It was a stone and I cut it and gave a bunch of pieces to the meteorite crew. Put it in the middle of the screen maybe. Like it's not my first day. And again, that's polished. And I just cut and polished these on my high-tech, on my 6-inch high-tech saw, and on my 6-inch high-tech flat lap. And I treat them just like I treat stones. You know, a harder stone requires, you know, possibly up to, you know, maybe even 5 minutes worth of work on a coarse wheel and on down. You know, you don't want to skimp. If you do skimp, you'll have to go back because you'll see those scratches in the end, right? So I treat it just like I treat rock work. If it's a softer stone, you can get away with maybe just a minute or even just a couple minutes on each grit, and you can cruise right through and you'll get a nice finish in the end. However, if it's a little harder, you're going to want to work it just a little bit longer before you move on. So your first meteorite as a supermodel? Oh my goodness, Bear. Is it so sassy? So sassy. I remember. Oh, I can't help but laugh sometimes when I see Barry in the comments and he's like, it's so sassy. Because that one time when Topher caught me in a blooper, and what was I trying to say? Successful, and I kept saying successful, and he's like, what'd you say about that meteorite? And then he's like, did you say it was sexy? And I was like, oh, so sexy. So that's it. Oh, so sassy. Yep. Yeah, not all meteorites are created equal, as Sue said, and I get what I pay for. I get crappy, not really well-defined, old, weathered, but you've got to start somewhere, and I don't want to start on $100 stone. I want to start on something that maybe costs me 20 bucks, right? That's what. That way I'm not devastated if it breaks when because that happens. You'll see some of these contraction cracks that are running through some of these meteorites. It's not something that you face usually when you're doing earth rocks. You'll face cracks for sure when you're doing earth rocks, but not contraction cracks. It's a little different beast. And so sometimes you think you're going to get this neat little cab or this neat little slice out of this meteorite, and it's got a contraction crack running right down the middle of it, and you get 2 pieces instead of 1. So there's a lot of learning. And it's start on something kind of less fancy, and you can get surprised. Sometimes you'll get a really neat chondrule or something in there, and it's like, ooh, that one's definitely worth putting on the shelf, you know? Ooh. And of course you get the old optivisor on, and you can just study for days some of the things, even in some of these kind of crummy meteorites. So yeah, these are great. These are, some, like I say, just unclassified ordinary chondrites. They've got a little metal in them, so they're kind of fun to play with and cut and polish. Each one's a little different. So, get your hands on some of that. Everybody's having a good chat. I'm going to go put these back in the case real quick. So we talked the other day about how one of my first meteorite purchase was at the gem shop over in Bynum, Montana, and that they had just a whole bowl full of this NWA. I expect them to fall out of there. There's a freaking magnet in there, and then when I expect the magnet to work, they fall out. They had a whole bowl full of these little NWAs. And these are, like I say, these were my very first meteorite purchase. And we got 3 of them. I keep 2 of them in the meteorite cabinet, and Caden has one in his rock collection that he picked out too. And I mean, we've got 1 whole sample. Let's cut one. Caden's got one like he can keep his forever or whatever he wants to do, or polish maybe even, because this thing might have some interesting chondrules in it. It really, really might. So I was thinking that the other day, the things that keep me awake when I'm lying in bed at night, like if I was going to cut a meteorite and make a meteorite cutting video for you guys, which meteorite would it be? And I was like, what? One of these needs to go through just right down the blade. And then, of course, I would like to cut some bigger stuff for you guys too. I think this might be one of the ugliest darn meteorites I own. That thing is just falling apart. It is so weathered. But look, we've got some neat things happening here as well. You know, let's just get brave and do it one day. There may be something like even if we just halved this stone, it might be so spectacular inside. It might be a total dud. That in meteorites is a reality as well. So, you know, there's always the, you know, the game of hunting meteorites, and there's different games you can play, you know, in your backyard, or buy a plane ticket and go and spend a lot of money and go and hope, you know, there's different levels of that as well. But and then when it comes to cutting and polishing meteorites too, like you can teach your eye to kind of know, like, oh, from the outside of this looks like an L, or this looks like an H, or, you know, you can kind of teach your eye, but not every L looks the same, and not every H looks the same, and there's such a combination of everything in between. L, H, you know, there's you know, different flavors, and so you just never know what you're gonna cut into. And you know, so while this is a piece that when I got it, I was like, it's so cool, I don't know if I can cut it. I might be depriving myself of an exceptionally beautiful meteorite inside, and I don't know unless I cut it. So yes, the juicy olivines. Sue's talking about Bear got some meteorites today, it sounds like. And I'm so excited. Let's see, Angie, I was looking at the meteorite, and by looking at like the Imelak and the Berhin and the Brenham, and then realize their prices. Oh, Angie, I don't have expensive taste in anything. Like, my idea of being extravagant is to get a bag of Tim Hortons coffee from across the border, you know, and like I'm really living when I've got some Tim Hortons coffee, right? Otherwise, I'm like, you know, I don't care what the shoe looks like, as long as I'm gonna get my money's worth out of it. It's gonna beat, you know, it's gonna take the miles and the beatings that I give it. I don't really care who makes the grit, as long as the grit gets the rocks exceptionally polishing, and it's an enjoyable experience for me. So, like, I just cannot tell you how plain Jane I am, and I just am undazzled by, you know, exceptionally fancy things. But when it comes to meteorites, I don't know why I have got, like, my tuning fork for meteorites is like, wing, the most expensive thing you can find or can't find. I swear. Of course, I also have an eye for what other people would just be like, yuck, I wouldn't. It's not worth the $15 for that piece of crap weathered meteorite. But for me, for the exploration part of it and the learning and things like that, it's absolutely worth every penny of that per gram. So, but yeah, every time I look, I'm like, oh my goodness, what is that? I need to have a piece of that. And then I'm like, oh, of course, it's unobtainium. Like, I have a special eye for, like, oh, that's the most beautiful palisite I've ever seen, and I'll never have a piece of it. Okay. So there's a fair bit of that, Angie. There's a fair bit of that in rock hounding too, I'm sure, right? Oh. And I'm going to translate Sue's last comment, because I know that there are a few in the comments in the live chat right now that are going, what did she just say? She says, I love the palisite slices, but they are pricey. And the new Fukang that she just got is to die for. So Fukang is how that is pronounced. And yes, Fukang is a fucking beautiful meteorite, if you ask me. Who shared? Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, is Sue referring to Bear as by his first name in the chat and confusing everybody? Yeah, I got my Shoto. That seriously just about ruined me. I was just like, I will give my left leg for a piece of that. Seriously, please. Yeah, that just about wrecked me. I didn't sleep very good. I was like, my Shoto, my Shoto. Where art thou, Shoto? Oh, you thought Sue was talking naughty to you, Angie? Oh, hubby. Chubby hubby's being funny in the comments again. Oh, another like poppy little song came on and it's got me moving. I'm sorry, you guys. Music is important. I love music. Yeah, I keep looking at this and it's a nice enough, you know, turd meteorite. But we may, you know, there's a handful of them over there that there's no reason why we don't cut them. That is insane. I don't have that kind of money. Rufo's just getting home from his job. The dreaded job. Actually, I don't know if he dreads his job or not, but it's always nice to get off of work and be like, let's look at some rocks and talk about some rocks. Yeah, you know, there are some meteorites out there that are cost more than my truck, for sure. For sure. Oy. So yeah, that was, I mean, that's quite a bit of rock chat there. We looked at Romanian rocks, rocks from Romania. We looked at rocks from quartzite that were gathered from the strewn field of the meteorite that skunked both Chris Monk and Topherspin Meteorites. And I say that with delight because you know, guys, we, as the meteorite crew, I'm going to speak for all of us in general, we really do want people to find a meteorite. There's nothing more exciting, even if it's a weathered ordinary chondrite. We really do want people to find something and be successful, because there's no funner story to hear somebody tell of like the time they found that meteorite, you know. So we want people to be successful, but also like I always say, if there is anything that you take out of, you know, when I talk about meteorites, is that they're incredibly hard to find. Even in the best of circumstances, it's not a guarantee. And so, you know, like when I'm out looking for something that's never been discovered, it'll probably never happen. But if it does, you guys, that's going to be the most exciting thing. But I say with excitement that Topher and Chris got skunked, because that's the reality of it. I'm telling you guys the truth, nothing but the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth, that there are guys in our crew who buy very expensive plane tickets to get there as fast as they can to get this stuff picked up off the ground and preserved. As soon as it hits the ground, it starts to weather. The moisture in our environment is no good for meteorites, no matter their kind. Whether they're carbonaceous or they're irons or anything in between, the moisture in our environment is no good for meteorites. So the sooner you can get them picked up and the less weathered they are, the more that we can tell about them. So there are guys that will invest a lot of money into a plane ticket now to get to there. They'll drop what they're doing, you know, and they may come home with nothing. So, you know, be for real with yourself if that's a hobby that you're going to take up, as meteorite hunting. Meteorite collecting, on the other hand, the one and only bit of wisdom I have for you there is that they are like tater chips and you can't have just one. So be forewarned. Be forewarned. If you're gonna buy meteorites, get ready, because it's a fun hobby to have, and it goes hand in hand with rock hounding. You guys can make jewelry out of them. You can play with them in that way. You can cut them. You can learn about them. You can polish them. You know, it goes hand in hand, rock hounding and meteorite collecting. So, or you may come home. Yeah, exactly, Angie. And the more of it that they come home with, the more affordable it can be for the rest of us. But if you know, just barely any is found, then there's not enough to share. So we hope for always the latter. We always hope that somebody did actually find a meteorite, although it's really hard to do, you guys, really hard. And obviously it doesn't happen often, or you know, we would hear about it on the news, or we would know more people who have done it, you know, but especially when they fall in places like Costa Rica or Cuba, Sue says, exactly. So I just want one to just hit my truck, or punch a hole in the roof of my house, or, you know, that kind of thing. That would be wonderful, wouldn't it? I just want one to fly over my house, me catch it on my camera, and have the meteorite that my camera saw and the footage that, you know, my camera saw. That would be cool too, right? There's lots of things, you know, goals and things that I think would be super cool, but so yeah. And then also, I don't know if you guys ever checked my community posts, but Topher's running and this is something that I maybe want him to get on the channel and say out loud too. So, and if we reiterate it, then so what? But, you know, if we say it 100 times, then great. Because it's for education. It's for education and outreach. And there's, you know, I know that we're a group that can fully get behind something like education and outreach. So Mark Lyon is a very prominent meteorite dealer, well-known, trusted meteorite dealer. He deals a lot in, he's got everything from the beginner collector all the way up to, he's more known for some of the more exceptionally rare things, lunars and Martians and things like that. Like I say, he's got everything. In fact, my Shoto piece, my prized possession, came from Mark Lyon first and then to Matt's stream. So if it's a state collector piece that you've maybe thought about getting something from your state, maybe you should go over and see if Mark Lyon has it. Don't do it till after Tucson starts, though. And if he does, mention one of these three words, these three keywords: Topherspin, education, or knowledge bull-eyed crew. If you mention any one of those three words, Mark will take a portion of the amount that you spend, and it goes back to Topherspin Meteorites for education and outreach. So just a heads up there, if you've ever thought about kind of maybe splurging and getting one of those, you know, cornerstone pieces in your collection, or starting your collection even, go check out Mark Lyon right now and be sure to include one of those three keywords into your purchase any way that you can, and we'll get that money going back to Topher for education. So bonus points, the points don't matter, but bonus points to anyone who puts one of those three words in the chat first. Just drop it in the chat. Good little tune here. Who did I miss? Rufo gave me a super chat. Said he's got to eat. Rock on. Oh, and we have a show this weekend. The band has a show this weekend in Cup Bank, which is close to here, thank goodness. I'm not a huge, big fan of traveling, but I'll do a lot of things for $1 or $2. So we'll travel for money, but yeah, close to home. So Angie, you picked a really pretty piece too. That piece has got some neat chondrules and neat stuff going on in it. So That was a nice choice. And you wear it well. You're so stinking adorable. You're so adorable. And it's nice to hear finally my first piece was not from Kyle. No offense, Kyle. You know, I totally think Kyle's doing a great job. He does a really good job at what he does. If you guys don't think he's working really hard doing what he's doing, then you ought to try it one time. Yeah, that was like Sue's meteorite. Like she says, her and Topher had purchased that piece from an NWA dealer, and then she sent me a variety. I still have a bunch too, and it is still wire wrapping season outside because it's chilly. And a friend of mine gave me a charite piece to wire wrap the other day for her, and it's been a long time. She might have overpaid that for that. Been a long time since I've done some wire wrapping. I like to kind of go between my, you know, I'll go on a stint where all I'm doing is making cabs for a minute, or all I'm doing is cutting slabs for a minute, or all I'm doing is running the small saw for just a minute, or all I'm doing is wire wrapping for just a minute. So I like to kind of go in shifts. That first wire wrap piece you do after you haven't in a while is always just so horrible. So I'm kind of getting ready to kind of shift gears back into making some jewelry, especially as I have actually sold some of my stuff, and then I gave a piece to my cousin when she was here the other day and stuff. So my inventory is getting a little low too, so it's time to bust out the wire and kind of re-up on some of the jewelry. Also, with some of the meteorites that Sue sent me, I want to do just a simple little, take the Dremel to it, put a hole in it, and put a little pinch clasp in. And then she sent me a piece of that Pungera, or whatever it's called, that Russian pseudo meteorite that she wants me to make a necklace out of, and I think I'll probably do it in that style too. Hopefully I don't break her piece right in half. You see why maybe I hesitate on some of this stuff? I'm like, I hate to break a pretty meteorite. I hate to break a pretty pseudo meteorite. Even wire wrapping, I have broke a couple of Sue's pieces. Of course, it doesn't break Sue's heart in the least. She's like, it's an affordable little piece. It's okay. You know, if we can't take a loss like that in our company, then we have no business running a company. So she laughs at me. She's like, oh, don't lose sleep over it. And I'm like, but I feel terrible. I broke your piece, you know. But I've been tightening wires, and that was all it took. So, and in my opinion, if that's all it takes, then I don't want to finish that piece of jewelry and sell it to somebody that brittle and that easily breakable anyway. We want our stuff to be a little tougher than that, Sue and I do. You know, we want to sell you guys a product that's worth your money. So if it's going to break, I want to know now. I want to be the one who breaks it. But in the same note, I don't want to break all of Sue's meteorites either. So. Oh, bear. Oh, bear. He's running to the window looking for the mailman. Yeah, growling and I think bears, what do they call it? Huffing? Chuffing? Do that noise at him, bear. Somebody take a still or a short of me doing that and put it on the Discord. I can do whatever I want with it? What, Sue? I want to make I think I'm going to make a piece out of it, but I hope I don't break it. If I do, then we'd get 2 pieces for the price of 1. It's terrible. It's terrible because it's such a cool material. So yeah, you know, and maybe that's all it's taken too for some of those NWAs that I bought with the idea of cutting it, is just to get more comfortable with doing it. You know, when you only have 5 meteorites in your collection, every one of them is special and important. So now, you know, that I've got some more meteorites in my collection, they might as well, like I say, I'm depriving myself from knowing what's inside them, for starters, and you guys too. And for second of all, 2 meteorites for the price of 1. So, or more. Yep, yeah, it happens. And yeah, Sue's broke a couple of rather expensive ones that have just like sucked the color right out of her face. But yeah, exactly. Exactly. So I mean, you know, you try your hardest, but as with all things, it happens sometimes. I can't not open up a meteorite. That's the attitude, boo. Woo! And yeah, I mean, $30, you know, okay, yeah, it's dang it. You know, you liked that piece enough that you picked it out and you paid $30 for it, Angie, but, you know, sometimes it's an okay thing. Sometimes it's like, yeah, but now I have 2 really beautiful pieces and it's beautiful how it broke, but sometimes that's just a heartbreaker. Boot cuts everything. I love that. I need to be more like you, Boot. That's my New Year's resolution. Be more like Boot. Half a mind to do it? Yeah, you mean, like I say, you just don't know. It's a lot like cutting agates, or let's take like the Malawis in particular. Some of them are like, whoa, jaw-dropping, stunning. You could have never imagined so much fire and yellow and color and red. And then some of them are like quartz all the way through, just kind of white quartz. So the same thing. Isn't that stuff neat, that pseudo meteorite? I know Bear and I were kind of chatting about it the other night. Another thing that Bear and I were chatting about the other night, and I'm going to say this while Sue is still here listening, is Russian etched meteorites. I was talking to Bear about that is something in the future that I would like to dabble in, is a Russian etch, which means that it's pallasites and irons only. We don't usually etch our stonies. Excuse me. Because there usually isn't enough metal in them to etch them. But for a Russian etch, either metal or palisite, you stop the etching material from going all the way to the very, and it's a perfect little line around the edge of your meteorite where the acid doesn't etch. So you get the best of both worlds. You see an etched surface, but the very edge is just polished. And Boot, you have a Russian etched meteorite in your collection? Share that on the Discord, please, because I searched the internet for probably an hour the other day trying to find a couple of examples to show to Bear. And I mean, you can explain it and everything, but to see a really nicely done Russian etch is kind of a neat thing. But yeah, I almost messaged Sue and said, I know that they have sold a piece, and I think it went to Jules. They had a piece in there, and I know that Sue keeps an archive of everything that's gone through their company, and I was gonna ask her if maybe she could pull that out of her archive and share that with me. But yeah, Boot, if you've got a Russian etched meteorite, would you share that on the Discord so we can see that? That's it's not a common thing. I don't see it often. And every time I do it, here we go again, Angie. Every time I see a Russian etched meteorite, I want to have it, radar just pegs out, and they're usually quite expensive. So yeah. Like they do on Damascus knives. Exactly, Chubby Hubby. Exactly. If you wanted to make a pattern on a Damascus, you would block the acid from going there with whatever material, you know. Bear had suggested several different things that I could try to use to achieve that. Of course, first I need to obtain some meteorites to do that with. But again, that's something that's a little farther out in the future for me. But you know, maybe I'll still be doing this, and we'll do that together someday. But yeah, it's just I had a hard time even finding pictures of Russian etched lots of Russian meteorites that have been etched. But yeah, please do, Sue, because again, I was visiting with Bear, who does a lot of, like, you know, metalwork and stuff, and he had some suggestions and ideas. But but yeah, I found a few examples to show him, but maybe a couple more wouldn't hurt. Anyway, yeah, if I could figure out how to do that, I could have, you know, a little corner on the Russian etch market, and we all could have nice, cute Russian etched pieces in our collection. So it's just so wildly different. And I mean, I don't want to oversaturate the market with it and make it so common that it's not special anymore, but I sure wouldn't mind hooking up my friends if I could figure out how to do it. So, you know, just there's some things that, you know, rock chat, it's coffee and rock chat, right, guys? You know, what am I thinking about? What am I doing? What am I visiting about? There's some of those things for you. Yeah, that I've got a few meteorites that are still on my wish list. That are not my typicals. There's a couple of irons actually that I'd like to add to my collection. And I'm not usually a big fan of the irons, but there's a couple that the etch on them is stunning. So it's hard to saturate a market like that unless you are putting out an insane amounts. Yeah, but is that part of what makes the Russian etch so unique? Is it just like so hard to do that people don't? Or is that part of what makes it so unique, is that it's just like you don't do it a lot? I just don't know, but yeah. Yes, Chubby Hubby as well is an iron guy. He's done a lot of, like, he's over there saying, just like you do Damascus, like it's no big deal. Yeah, exactly like that. So, I mean, there's a little more to it than that, because we're not necessarily doing it to the outside of the stone. Where would you draw your line on the we're doing it to sliced and polished pieces. So you don't want to over polish. You want to leave kind of a texture that the acid can grip with. So there's some things, some tips and tricks along the way, because it's not a Damascus knife, it's a meteorite, but very similar. In fact, you know, yes, the exact same thing. So he says a little, probably know as much or a little more than me, Chubby Hubby. Between your knowledge of metals and my knowledge of meteorites, we might equal one Rocky Mountain Bear. Because Bear, like I say, Bear was pretty on it. He was suggesting some things that I know people have done before with meteorites. And I was like, right on, Bear, you are right on track. So it's been a long time since I had to weld anything, but I'm not saying I'm good at it, but I can do it. What did Sue say? It's all about the rocks. From here to outer space. Absolutely. Absolutely. Like I say, just fingers crossed that one hits my truck one day. I would sacrifice my beloved pickup truck for to turn it into a museum specimen. The old 1995 Chevy pickup that the sunburst meteorite impacted. See, doesn't that have a nice ring to it? All right, you guys. I'm nerding out over here now, and it's taken a real meteorite turn. So, yeah, thank you, Boot. I'm excited to see that. I love me a good Russian etch piece, so it'll, or is that who said that? Who said they put me a picture in the comment? Where did it go? Yeah, boot, yeah. Only fancy or unique meteorites I've seen was a Lapidary Dave video when he showed someone's booth at shows. You know, and Dave has never, thank you, Spot. Dave has never really interviewed a meteorite dealer. He's interviewed a lot of rock dealers who have maybe some meteorites or impactites for sale at their booth. But Dave, as far as I know, has never interviewed a reputable meteorite dealer. And Topher, go subscribe to Topherspin Meteorites on Facebook because he's getting ready to go to Tucson and a lot of his lives will be on Facebook. Excuse me. And he may, it's not necessarily an interview atmosphere, but he will maybe talk to some of these dealers. Maybe some of those dealers would prefer to not be talked to while they're dealing with some of their customers. And in the meantime, Topher will be walking around the room looking at all of the meteorites. And I know for some of you, some of the things that Topher's going to say about, you know, this meteorite is historically significant for that, or scientifically significant for this, and you know, this, some of that stuff might kind of go over your guys' head and below your knees, but you might pick up some little tidbits here and there, and just for eye candy purposes only, go check it out. If you guys want to see some of the most beautiful and some of the most rare and some of the most extravagant meteorites that are for sale today, let Topher take you on a Tucson tour because he's really, really good at it. And that is his forte. He's not going to go look at a rock vendor. He's going to only be talking with meteorite vendors. So again, thank you, Bear. Oh my goodness. He's my best rancher. So you guys just for eye candy purposes, tune in and check that out. It's really cool. Yeah, Sue. I want to get products that I believe in for my own person. Nobody's sponsoring me. Topher and Sue aren't paying me to say this. I think it's cool. I think it's a cool thing. If you guys and you're welcome. Please come check it out. Come check out the Facebook Lives and see that. We all like what Lapidary Dave does. Come check out what Topher's doing. It's a lot similar, only more meteorite niched. And like I say, yes, Dave will come across some vendors who have some really cool things to see, but it's just, to me, it's subpar. It's subpar by a lot to what Topher's gonna do when he's down in Tucson. So be sure to check that out. Aw, Rufo, I was hoping to hook you up with a couple of those characters down there for interviews and checking things out next year, okay? And maybe next year you can meet me down there. I'll come out of the Meteorite Mansion for just a minute and come to the show and do a meet and greet with everybody. I'll walk around with my Meteorite crew. The Meteorite Mafia will be strutting our stuff, doing a meet and greet. Absolutely, yeah, Spot. And I've never seen Dave be doing a show and he comes across and is like, here's some meteorite material, and I'm like, hold it, time out, stop, pause. That does not look like meteorite. It's everything I've ever seen has looked legit. And most of that material is really abundant, super common. So it's not a surprise that they have some of those stones for sale. Like I say, come to Boise next month. What's going on? Come down to Boise next month. What's going on in Boise? You gonna be there? We might be able to do something like that. So yeah, I mean, he's not showing anything that's meteor rounds. That has happened. I know some of our meteorite crew have been to shows, maybe not necessarily Tucson, maybe I'm sure it's happened, but some of our meteorite crew have been to shows and have come up against that situation where they're like, you know, that guy down there, he's got some rocks on his table. Did you look at him? yeah, I did. They're not meteorites. And he says they are, you know. So it does happen once in a while. I think the bulk of meteor wrongs being sold as meteorites happens a lot on the interweb, but there is a portion of that does happen at live sales. So, you know, I've told you guys before, look out for things like classification. Does it have a classification name or number? Does this person selling have an IMCA number? Is there an IMCA number associated with the rocks that they're selling? You know, that kind of thing. Is there a chain of provenance on those rocks? There's some things, but yeah, again, if you're just gonna buy, you know, a maybe $5 or $6 rock out of a bin, like I did, you know, for my first meteorite, then it's okay if it's not the nicest, the greatest, or maybe even if you took a loss. What's not okay with me is when people sell meteor wrongs to people who don't know any better, and they think that they're learning and they think that they're sharing a great thing with somebody, and it's just an earth rock. That peeves me off. If you're gonna sell something that you're not sure is a meteorite, say that. Say possible meteorite, possible meteor wrong. Don't tell people this is a meteorite, take their money and let them be ignorant. That's not fair. So there's another rant for you guys before I call it a day. Ooh, Rufo is going to be at the Boise Gem and Mineral Show as a guest. They invited his old club invited him to come back. And you guys have seen like the candy bouquet of cabochons that Rufo's had dopped and has been working on. So yeah, I'm super excited. That's awesome, Rufo. Super excited. I don't know if I'll get to Boise. I've recently taken on some community help setting up a new business here in town. So I may be slightly busy with that, but all work and no play makes Alec dull girl. So I might have to just make that happen. Sue's talking about when that's happened, and the whispers are like, go get Topher, because he's bold enough to go over there and call this guy out on his meteor maybes. Yeah. Yeah, Rufo's been real busy with his flat lap, you guys. Go check. And he's been working some absolutely beautiful material. So he keeps that up. I'm going to have to send him a piece of that platinum ore, because that makes some really beautiful cabs. And we might have to get him to try that just so he knows how much he likes it. I might have sent one to Alex and Emily too to try, because they're always really looking for new material, and I think once they try it, they'll buy it. No, that was the ploy. I cannot tell a lie. The ploy was that if I put some of this in your hands, I bet you'll come back for more. I've given out some little tiny samples to Jeff and stuff, but yeah, it's so hard to get a hold of that I just keep it close. And we'll see what we can do about getting some more of that too, because that is such a neat material. But it reminds me, I have some silver lace cab that are messed up. Go back and fix it. Platinum ore would be cool. It is. It's so neat. Let's look at those real quick. The only problem with it is that it's so stinking hard to get that it's an expensive material. This is the okay stuff that he sent me. Look at the chatoyance in that. Here's a really pretty cab piece with the pyrites. It's trying to catch the different textures in that gabbro in there, but you just don't see that depth that you see in hand on film. Just don't see it. And then I've got, you know, some unpolished pieces that Look at all the detail in that one there. Like lightning through this one stone, he says. That's cool. That's cool. I have actually like even some more of it. Where is it? Right here. This is the second batch, maybe over here. Oh yeah, this stuff's got a lot more pyrites in it. This is such pretty stuff, you guys. I just can't get over it. Of course, it doesn't look like much unpolished, but polished, it's just the depth in that piece is to die for. In any piece, the depth in these are just so cool. Cynthia's heading out. I was scared to mess them up. Isn't you guys? Yep. Sometimes that's the holdup. Sometimes like I really want to and I have this good idea, but I'm so afraid. This is the stuff I loved. Yes, Angie had talked to me about grabbing, I think it was this one cab. I think it was this one with the chatoyance on the side. Again, if I turned the camera around and put it in a light box and did a proper job showing it, you might could see it better, but oh, it is, you guys, it's a really pretty stone. It's too bad that it's not more readily available, but I just don't think those guys think that, you know, lapidary people would be interested in their waste product. It's never crossed their mind, you know? So, and that's not necessarily their waste. The on-site geologist has collected those pieces for me, so. But yeah, it's not just a pretty material, but you know, there aren't 100 or even 10 people out there who know the geologist at the platinum mine who's, you know, being handed samples brought back from. So again, just not something that's readily available. I've seen it by one other dealer, and that other dealer is just not a good dude. So I would avoid doing that if I was you. I strongly recommend that you avoid that other seller. So, but yeah, anyway, on that note, let's just run back one more time for those who weren't here. If you missed this, you need to go back to the beginning and check this out because we had a really good long look at this piece and it's exceptionally bizarre, which we all really like. I think exceptionally bizarre is always a winner, and exceptionally unique. That's a piece I've never been offered for sale before. I've never seen it before. Yeah. So if you missed that, please go back and check that out. We looked at some rocks from Romania. We looked at Topher's meteorites that he brought home just so he wouldn't come home empty-handed from the quartzite strewn field. We looked at a piece that came from our buddy Steven, malachite nazarite piece. We looked at a lot of meteorites, potential meteorites. We looked at the glass that I'm getting ready to cut and cab for the tumbler. So stay tuned if you want to know how that project turns out or doesn't turn out. We're going to find out together. Yeah, the glass bomb. Thank you again, John, for bringing up that new term we all use today. Oh, the bear has got his first meteorite package. And you know it's from Sue, don't you, Bear? You could spot it a mile away, couldn't you? I'm so excited for you right now. This is a pretty special thing. In fact, it's so special that I think I'm going to get off of here so that Bear can message me and tell me all about it. And I want to see. I told him I know I've seen it all before. It's stuff that I've definitely, especially the necklace, but I want to see it again, and I want to know how this goes for him. I'm so excited. Aw, Bear. Aw, Bear. Thank you, Sue, for taking such good care of Bear for us. He's a pretty golden dude, and we're lucky to have him. So Anyway, thank you to Cynthia, Rufo, Spot, Angie, Chubby Hubby, Soul, John. My goodness, Al was in earlier. Karen was in earlier. Sue and Topher, thank you for jumping in. Cynthia was in for a minute. Chubby Hubby, I don't know if I said you just now. I think I might have, but maybe not. Thank you guys all so much for hanging out with me today. Thank you for the super chats, you guys. That's a cool new feature on my channel that I'm pretty excited about. You guys know I worked really hard to get to that point, so it's fun. Fun things. Let's see, do I have a feel-good story to end the day on? Yes, I do. I saw my old shop teacher the other day. He walked up to me and said, "Do you know who I am?" And I said, "Man, you look familiar, but no." And he said, "Ken DeVries." And I said, "Holy cow, I haven't seen you since school." And oh my goodness. And I'm just so excited to tell him, like, I've got 2 kids that are in high school right now. And I'm looking around the room. I'm like, where are my kids? Yeah, that one there. And then as I'm looking around the room to find my kids, I see my ex is sitting right next to me. And my ex and I went to school. He was 3 years above me. So we went to school together. And I smacked him on the shoulder and I was like, "Do you know who this is?" And he looks and he's like, "No, can't say I do." I said, "It's Mr. DeVries." And he was like, "Oh my gosh." He just about fell off his chair. So, yeah, those are conversations that really can only be had in a town this small when you and your ex-husband went to school together and you re-see your shop teacher, your high school shop teacher. And that you could both rejoice in that moment together and be like, "That's our kids out there, by the way, the tall blonde one and the short blonde one over there." And they can't believe that, like, the last time I saw him, I was nearly my oldest son's age. So yeah, it was a blast, really exciting. It's always cool to see people like that again and to catch up, even just for briefly, like that brief moment, like, and just to like see his smiling face. He wore one of the biggest smiles always. And yeah, definitely that's what was familiar, and to see that smiling face again one more time, you know, recently. It might be another 10 or 20 years before I see him again. You never know. I may not. You never know. So that made my day. That was really, really cool. And it's always exciting when you see your old teachers to be like, "Meet my kids." And they knew you when you were that age. So that was really fun. And the look on my ex's face, though, when he literally just about fell off his chair. That was cool. All right, you guys, be well. Do the thing. Go out and like somebody's video. Leave a nice comment for somebody. Check out Topher and Sue. Watch on Facebook for them. Check out Rufo. I think he said he just posted an update on some of the cab work that he's been doing. Check out Karen and the crew, the podcast crew, for their lives. And let's sing the song and do the thing. Yeah, almost out of this world experience, right? Yeah. So, all right, let's sing the song, guys. Pretty rocks out on the prairie. Pretty rocks are everywhere. Pretty rocks for us to look at. Pretty rocks are everywhere. There's a pink one and a green one and a blue one and a yellow one, and they all are very pretty, and they all are everywhere. Thanks, guys. Have a good rest of your week, and we'll see you again soon. If you're headed to Tucson, have a blast. See you guys.